Hi guys, I'm back again for a second video. I'm sorry about the lighting. I know it is a bit dark, but it is what it is. Anyway, this time I'll be reviewing the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I hope you enjoyed my previous video on which I reviewed Morrowind, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'd really appreciate if you check it out. Oblivion is basically the next game in the main Elder Scrolls series after Morrowind, and like my last video, I will be rating it on gameplay, graphics, content and replay value. I have it for PS3, Xbox, PC, and I have the official game guide and a poster on my wall. I'm in a couple of Oblivion Discord servers, so I'm a big fan, as you can see. In a nutshell, Oblivion follows the same gameplay principles as Morrowind, in which it is open world and role playing. It came out in 2006 and is available for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and PC, and is also backwards compatible with Xbox One and PS4. Personally, I think the PC version will be the best choice, as you get mods and everything for it, and is the best quality as long as you have an adequate PC. The console versions are just as good. However, a significant drawback is that on Xbox you can get official expansions and add-ons for it, but not mods like on PC, and for the PlayStation you can only get the official expansions but not the add-ons as far as I know. There's also an awful looking version of the game for old mobile devices and a cancelled version for PSP. I'm not going to be including these as part of the video, but I will add links in the description about these versions if you want to learn more about them. I have mixed opinions on the graphics in Oblivion. I love the textures, landscapes and the different weather depending on where you go. For example, in Broome, the most northern town, you're going to get snow and ice, but if you go to the Imperial City near the middle, you're going to get beautiful lush green landscapes. I like the different influences that can be seen in the architecture, such as Romanesque pillars and patterns. They really did make an effort to try and make the graphics authentic and true to life, and a lot of work was put into the movements of animals, creatures and people, as further explained in the documentary. I'll attach the link to the documentary in the description if you want to look at it. I'd highly recommend it, it's very interesting. Oblivion uses a heavily modded version of the Gamebryo engine, which is the successor to the NetImmerse engine used in Morrowind, and obviously is much more powerful and efficient. It also used the Havok's physics engine, which is miles ahead of Morrowind, which didn't have any. Realistic foliage and trees are created with speech tree or Radiant AI is used for the characters, which was very groundbreaking at the time. Basically, this relates to characters' behaviour and schedules, so that the characters will react appropriately in a situation, do set tasks during the day, such as eating and sleeping, instead of aimlessly walking around the place all day and night. The actual colour in this game is well utilised. It uses warm colours and light textures in friendly indoor settings and dark gloomy colours in rain and dungeons. I know this doesn't appear to be much, but this is the best thing about this game regarding graphics, and it's easy to overlook. There's so much detail in small things such as clothes and the atmosphere and the weather and mist. The colours are bright and appealing and lush compared to the other Elder Scrolls titles, however it's not all positives. The graphics can feel glitchy and rough in general and unsubstantial at times. If you're playing on PC, you will need a good graphics card for the game to run smoothly, as I found out the hard way when I tried to play it on my old family PC. The weakest point graphically in my opinion is the non-player characters, not to mention the infamous character creation system. The characters graphically are a bit of a mixed bag. Some do not look bad for an old game, others deserve to be murdered in their sleep just for looking this ugly. Another visual thing that I guess isn't a big deal but nevertheless annoys me is literally not one of the guys in this game has appeared besides Shagora, the God of Madness, which I later found out is technically a tongue and not a beard. Making your own beard is also out of the question because it makes your character blue for some reason. I also feel the character creation system is overly complicated. You can get mods however that improve the experience and graphics, so it's not a big deal, and overall the graphics are pretty amazing in vanilla mode if you're running it on a decent system. Overall, I'd rate the graphics 8 out of 10. Moving on to the storyline, Oblivion is a standalone sequel to Morrowind, so what I mean by that, it is technically a sequel in that it comes next in the series, but it is set after the events of Morrowind and has nothing really to do with the plot of Morrowind. In fact, Morrowind isn't even really mentioned at all in Oblivion, besides a few dialogue lines from NPCs who briefly mentioned in Erevar. The game is set in the Imperial province of Cyrodiil and the Oblivion Plains. I don't want to spoil the game too much, so I'm just going to briefly explain the storyline. Basically, the Emperor and his heirs have been killed by assassins working for a cult of Mehrunes Dagon worshippers, who is a Daedric Prince of Darkness and Destruction, and they're called the Mythic Dawn. Right before the Emperor dies, he tells you to go find this guy called Joffrey, who tells you that the Emperor has an illegitimate son that the assassins haven't got to yet, and in the meantime all these portals to hell called Oblivion Gates are opening, and your job is to help put an end to all this. Of course, you don't have to do all this at once. You can put it off indefinitely if you want to do, if you want to, or do little bits of a time. As well as this, there is plenty of stuff on the site to do. There are several different factions you can join, and unlike Morrowind, none of the factions are at war with each other, with some exceptions. But you were able to join all of them and rise to the top if you want, and the factions are mutually exclusive. You can join the Thieves Guild, the Mages Guild, and the Fighters Guild if you want. Like I said before, the factions aren't all having turf wars with each other, so the quests don't clash with each other like in Morrowind. Unfortunately, you can't join the Imperial Legion or the Cult, or you can join the Knights of the Nine as part of the official add-on. The Dark Brotherhood replaces the Morag Tong in a spiritual sense in this game. They both operate a little differently though. The Morag Tong is an ancient, well-organised, extra-legal guild of assassins that run more or less openly in Morrowind and use special documents called writs that allow the assassination to go ahead without sanctions for the assassins themselves. The Dark Brotherhood is similar, but is separate from the Morag Tong. It operates kind of despite the law. Unlike the Morag Tong, you can't just walk in and sign up, you actually have to murder someone to get noticed. As in killing an innocent law-abiding citizen, so killing Bandit in a cave doesn't cut it. It also operates throughout the province of Tamriel rather than a single province, but in the game Morrowind it has very little actual presence until you play the Tribunal add-on, in which the Dark Brotherhood is prominently featured in the main quest. You can also join the Blades during the main quest and an arena faction, which is a new addition to the Elder Scrolls series, though there is an arena in the great city of Vivec from Morrowind. There are also many non-faction quests to complete, and even just little unimportant errands such as getting something for someone, acting as a private investigator, that kind of thing. Also, you can do DJ quests by finding out where the relevant shrine is and giving an offering. Maybe you must be a certain level, or the offering must be given at a certain time, and complete whatever task they ask you to do. There's also hidden and unfinished quests that can be found in the game, which aren't technically quests but are interesting in themselves. Overall, I would rate the game's storyline 9 out of 10, giving marks for uniqueness and variation for different quests, but getting marked down slightly for the mundane nature of some quests. On to the topic of gameplay, as I mentioned before, Oblivion is an open world RPG, so you can wander around as you please, doing side quests or improving your skills, anything you want. Also, there is fast travel, so you don't have to rely on public transport or terrible directions. As you play through the game, you are constantly improving your character as you get better items and develop your skills and attributes. There are 10 different races in the game to choose from, with different abilities and powers. You choose 7 major skills you want to focus on, and the rest are minor skills that are of lesser importance. If you improve your major skills enough, you can level up and increase your attributes. Although this sounds straightforward, I find this leveling system doesn't really work, like you level up too fast or something, and although you can hoard level, you then don't have much of an idea of when you should level up. In Morrowind, I noticed that you seem to level up at a much slower pace, so you feel like you earned that level more. That's why I hated the leveling system in Skyrim. You hadn't even got to Riverwood when suddenly you started gaining levels rapidly, and there's no real structure or anything. You can't even hoard levels like in previous games, as then you must level up in one go. So one thing in Oblivion I think could be better is the leveling system, but it's not a big deal. I'm just glad it's better than Skyrim's. Combat is also an essential part of gameplay I'm going to explore. So the combat in Oblivion is realistic and not based on a dice roll like Morrowind. You can inflict damage onto opponents by attacking with a weapon or casting an offensive spell onto them, or more unconventional ways such as causing them to fall from a height, reflecting damage back onto them, and tricking them into walking into a trap intended to harm you. Also, you can poison your opponents by putting it on your weapon or the broadside, the poison apple. You can defend yourself with armor, potion spells, and using a shield. If you're playing as a mage, wearing armor will decrease your spell efficiency, so this is something you should be mindful of. Your damage input and output are basically a big hidden mathematical equation based on several factors such as skill, strength, armor rating, weapon fatigue, and so on. But you'll always hit the target unlike Morrowind, so it is somewhat easier as you won't have to worry about stuff like fatigue and luck to hit your target. So yeah, straightforward enough, just press a button in the right direction and you hit the target pretty much. There is a whole article in UESP about combat in Oblivion which I feel is useful for tips, but you will just pick it up as you go along. Character development is also straightforward as well. Basically, there are 3 main archetypes you can follow, which are Stealthy, Thief, Mage, and Combat Warrior. Of course, there are spin-offs of these, such as Offensive or Defensive Mage, Spell Sword, which is a mix of magic and combat, or Combat-orientated Thief. Those are just examples though. You can play as absolutely any character you want, but the game may help you steer yourself in a certain direction. Like ideally, an offensive combat character is a male orc and playing under a knight's class, specialising in heavy armour and blunt. But this is not at all mandatory, and there is no penalty if you choose to deviate from a stereotypical character development. Like, if you want to play as an orc mage or a high F warrior, the game isn't going to punish you for this, but you might just take a little longer than usual to level up and increase your skills. That's a great thing about this game, there's never any restrictions to what you can do. A theme in RPG fantasy games I noticed that I hate is restrictions on what armor you can wear or what weapons you can use based on your race or character class. This game doesn't have any of that, so it's perfect if you want total control over your character. Your race is not that important, but will affect your starting skills and abilities, and occasional comments from NPCs. As I mentioned before, there are 10 different races you can play as. There are 3 elven races known as Mer, 3 beast races, and 4 human races known as men. Races are generally suited to play a certain type of character. For example, High Elves are more suited to play as a mage, and Khajiit are more suited to play as thieves and stealthy characters. I won't go too deeply into this, as you can play as any character you want, whatever race you pick, but there are hundreds of blogs and videos suggesting different character archetypes and how to set up your character to maximise your skills and abilities. But to be honest, this is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. The point of the game is to have fun and explore the world, but I do admit it is easy to get caught up in comparing stats in game. Selecting your character class is also part of character creation that I would say is important initially, but it isn't worth losing sleep over. My advice is just make a custom class and pick whatever skills you want to focus on at first. Nothing is stopping you picking heavy armour as a major skill and then deciding a few levels in, oh, I think I want to focus on light armour. Playing the game, I'd say the controls and point of view are very accessible. You can play in first or third person mode. Your health, magic and fatigue are displayed on screen, as well as your mini compass, which displays nearby locations of interest, your currently equipped weapon and spell. Also, an icon can be seen when you sufficiently increase your major kills enough to level up. Just as a word of advice, I recommend not putting athletics or acrobatics as major skills, as these are very easy to level up through jumping, running and swimming, and therefore cause you to level too quickly, which imbalances your game. Overall, I'd rate the gameplay 8.5 out of 10. Is the game still worth playing? Absolutely, if you aren't snobby about slightly dated graphics and a few bugs. This game I can't recommend enough. It is a true RPG that can be enjoyed by all ages. I don't particularly have anything negative to say about Oblivion. I believe it is a timeless classic that set the stage for modern fantasy games and is absolutely still worth playing. There are plenty of mods out there to enhance the game and extra locations, quests and like. You will be missing out if you choose to overlook this game. If you want extra help and insight into this game, I'd recommend picking up the official game guide by Peter Olafsson, looking at the Elder Scrolls official wiki or the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, which is UESP. It's a brilliant resource, it's very accessible and informative, and it has a Discord and discussion page. I'd absolutely check out UESP if you ever have a minute. Overall, I'm going to rate this game 8.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for checking my video out. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if there's any other games you'd want me to review, let me know. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and most importantly, play Oblivion. Thanks again. Goodbye.